What's going on? It's the DRF Players Podcast. It's a Friday edition. Joined by DRF Tournament Editor Peter Thomas Fornital, DRF Formulator Mike Hogan. I'm Matt Bernier. We've got a tight schedule. We've got to get some tournament talk, and then we'll dive into the 4 PH races for tomorrow. You'll see this again if you're watching on Saturday before Dan and I come on for DRF Live. We'll take you through the whole slate. All 4 of these races will be part of it, so you'll get a little precursor from the 3 of us, and then Dan and I will bring you through it live. But if you're listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever it may be, thanks for joining us again. Let's start and get the tournament talk out of the way. Let's knock it out. You've got some things, some tidbits you want to get to?
Just quick, want to let people know some stuff going on. We debuted this new format last week where we had the opportunity on BC Qualify and NHC Qualify to win seats for both the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge and the NHC in the same contest. We're running that format again this weekend. It was popular. It's sold out. The market has spoken. So we're going to be back running that both days. Saturday, also very important. I misstated this on the podcast last week, and our friend Billy Blake called me on it. We now are actually hosting the last online qualifier for the Gold Cup Betting Challenge at Santa Anita. Next weekend. You'll be there.
Obeah.
I'll be there. It's going to be a great time. You have a chance to play in the last live bank contest of this part of the season for Santa Anita. They will have one in the fall.
You said they're closing up for a couple weeks.
Exactly, a couple weeks after this endless meet. Also, a chance to have the up close with American Pharaoh, who will be parading still, it sounds like, that weekend. That's a great contest. Check it out. DRFQ on Sunday, another qualifier for the Gulfstream Park September 19th contest. Also, just wanted to mention to people to check out this new feature I have on the blog that people have been enjoying. Joe Johnson, one of the folks who last weekend won his BC entry and NHC entry on bcqualify.com, goes through the bed of roses horse by horse from a contest player's perspective. And he has some neat little tidbits in there that sort of get into some of the nitty-gritty of how different it is looking at a race when you're looking at it for a contest, where it is in the contest, etc. I think players will get a kick out of checking that out, and he did a nice job on it. So just wanted to give that an extra little push from the podcast pulpit here. So that's really all I had to say from Tournament Talk. Just wanted to make sure we got a couple little notes in there.
Beautiful. We dive into the 4 public handicapper races. Now, you guys said last week with Eric Wing on, you dove into it a little bit more, the nuts and bolts, than we normally do.
Yeah, I think
Explain a little bit.
Well,
I need to know.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like our rhythm here has been more, you know, each of us go through and we sort of maybe do like 2 rounds in a race where we each sort of give our picks per se, and then sort of discuss a little bit. This was a little more like conversations about who's the favorite going to be, who's the speed going to be. Probably did a few more rounds and a more little back and forth.
We cold watered a little bit more.
That was also part of it.
Let's do it then.
That was just because I think that was just natural, given we had so many different opinions.
Right. And it naturally
they swore
kind of
Panagol was a cinch, and I had to tell them that they were crazy.
All right, well, I tell you what, let's start it off. Then the first race of the 4 is the Obeah down at Delaware Park. This is the Grade 3. It's a $100,000 purse. They're going a mile and an eighth on the main track. This is fillies and mares 3 years old and up. It's the local prep for the Delaware Handicap, which is a $1 million race, and you'll have all the big mares showing up for that one. How would you guys like to start? You want to? I'll follow your lead on this.
Sure.
How you guys want to break it down?
Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Who's the favorite? Is that the question?
No,
that's my question.
The question is, on paper, it looks to me like Natalie Victoria is loose as a goose. My question is, will somebody else in here, Montana native maybe, is somebody else in here going to keep this honest enough to set this kind of race up where everybody has a chance, or is this a race where we're going to be like looking for the winner from the first half of the field at the half-mile pole? You know what I'm saying? So I have an idea of who my selection is in here based on the idea that maybe the closers aren't going to have a fair shake, but I'm curious if maybe I'm not looking at the closers enough.
Okay.
And maybe there's another way this pace is going to shake out. So what do you guys think?
I think that Montana native is definitely going to be forwardly placed and probably trying to push Natalie Victoria. And I think Larry Jones's filly Blue Violet's going to be up close as well. I don't know if that is going to ensure a faster early pace and one that sets it up better for the closers. But I don't I think you said loose on the lead. I don't know if I would see Natalie Victoria as being necessarily loose on the lead. She may be fastest early, but I think she might have company.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think she's the speed of the speed, but I tend to agree. I think this race really, the horse that can make things more honest is Montana Native, and I think she has to. Yeah. I question why she was so far back last time out. That was first start off of a long layoff, but I do think she's going to be forwardly placed. I don't think she's as fast as Natalie Victoria, but frankly, I don't think either one of them is very good. So I'm just way against them. I put it this way, from a pace standpoint, I think everyone's in play.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys.
I wouldn't disagree there.
I'm going to take a lean. I'm going to take a shot. Mike just mentioned Blue Violet. Maybe to get a great trip behind those two. I feel like the Double Dog Dare, the form of that race is actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. You've got Deceptive Vision, who came back and ran well in the Nassau from there. You've got Tiz Windy, who came back and ran well in the Fleur de Lis. And then I feel like last time maybe the excuse was the racetrack. Okay. I thought that day Inside Speed looked really good at Pimlico. And maybe it was only 3 wide or whatever chasing, but maybe not being on the best part of the track it was enough of an excuse. I don't love this pick, and it really, in real life, would all come down to the price. Like 6-1 would be hello, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. But that's sort of where I'm leaning at this point, partially thinking that maybe some of the better-looking or good-looking horses might be a little far back in a race that I'm just not sure what's going to happen on the front end. I feel like Blue Violet will be close enough and is better than those other two, and maybe just gets a dream run.
What do you think?
Well, you said you have a question, and I sort of cheekily said who's going to be the favorite, because I think that the morning line has it wrong. I think Blue Violet will be the favorite, which is likely why I will not pick her. I think even though she finished behind Joint Return last race, it was very close. She was only a neck behind. She was more forwardly placed. Joint Return is much more of a deep closer who is usually a pretty solid price, if not a long shot. And I would be surprised if Joint Return gets bet more heavily than Blue Violet. I think the morning line favorite is what we mentioned. It's Montana Native.
I think.
Coming off
Fortune Pearl. Fortune Pearl.
Oh,
then
yeah,
Montana
Fortune Pearl.
Native.
Both of whom coming out of poor efforts that you have to excuse in order for them to be bet heavily. I think they're going to see 2 solid efforts against probably better than what they're facing here in terms of Blue Violet's recent form. I think she would be the favorite. She's probably, for me, the most likely winner, but I'm just worried that 6-1 morning line is going to be more like 3-1 in real life.
Yeah, I wouldn't need her at that price.
Based on the current public handicapper odds, and that's one of the cool things about PH that you can do, you can go on and see who all the players are picking. Joint Return is being hammered. She's 2-1. She's the favorite, and it's really not close. Second choice is Fortune Pearl at 4-1, and then you go to Blue Violet at 9-2. So if you just use that as a little bit of a gauge.
Everybody saw Joint Return's trip last time. Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, and I thought she ran well.
She ran great. Much better than the
I
Bear
had her
Form.
in that race. She was a bet this for me in that race, but yeah,
she ran great.
She did run great.
Very early, very wide.
She ran fantastic at 21-1, but you know.
Am I getting the vibe that neither one of you has a very strong opinion in this race? No,
I don't have a strong opinion, but I have a way I'm leaning. Yeah.
I mean, my pick was a little bit by default, and if Mike is right about the odds, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. This for me is like a total odds make-the-play race.
This for me is I'm having flashbacks to the race up at Golden Gate with Metaboss and
El Camino Real.
This is a 2-horse race.
And you were right that day. You almost had the exact cold.
This is 11-9 cold.
This might even be the same numbers.
This is 11-9 cold. The 11 Sea Shadow, I picked her in the race of the day that we did last time out. First time blinkers, and she had an immediate change in the workout tab. Yep. She goes, airs that day. She was beating less, but Power of Snunner came back to win with an 87 last time out. Unless the 11 post is just an absolute death sentence, which I don't believe it is, if she even regresses, she's good enough to win this race. I think she sits a really good trip. She's going to have to get over and save a little bit of ground. But I'm not afraid of any of these. In Joint Return, I thought she ran a really good race. I've got all sorts of numbers for service. I know this is a graded event, and he's only run 1 graded stakes race down at Delaware, but in non-graded events, past 5 years at Delaware in dirt routes, 5 for 7 with an 860 ROI. Kendrick Carmouche, 3 for 3 with him aboard in those events. For me, and whether you want to flip it the other way, 9-11, for me it's 11-9. It's no-brainer. I don't want anybody else. I think those are the two.
Will you be playing the race for public handicapper?
Oh, yeah.
And I guess you'd have to take a shot with Sea Shadow based on the presumable price.
Yeah, this is the one race tomorrow. I mean, there's a lot of good racing tomorrow, but this is the one. She's 19-1 on PH. I'm playing her in that. I'm playing her. If I can get, I don't think I'm going to get 12-1 on the morning line. I think she goes down to about 7.
Yeah. Top last buyer, right?
Yeah, top last buyer. But I mean, I still think at that. I haven't gone through and made a full-blown line, but right now off the top of my head, 9-2.
Wow, that's short.
I think that last race, if you watch it, she continued on. She had her best stride late. A lot of these fillies, I don't think Blue Violet wants any part of 9 Furlong.
You think that's the issue?
Yeah, and I don't know how much better she can actually be. She is what she is.
You're basing that on the previous efforts at 9?
Yeah, and I mean, look, she's never run faster than 88.
Right.
And she's 5. I don't think she's going to get any better all of a sudden. I think Sea Shadow, I don't think there's any reason to think. Dan brought up the idea that maybe the first time was the time, and now she regresses a a bit. I would make the argument.
First time blinks?
Yeah, I would make the argument that the second time, a lot of times you see horses move forward with the second time.
That is true.
It's 11-9 for me all day.
Figure pattern-wise, I do worry that a regression could be coming there, but you make the point she could regress a little bit and win.
And still win.
The other issue is the post, but for me, yeah, the 12-1 is too big. I think I'd be interested at that price. I wonder where the real number will fall, but she's another one I'll be considering in my real-life play as we get closer to post time on Saturday.
So where are you leaning?
So it's funny, I like Sea Shadow a lot. I was also worried that morning line was going to come down. For me, it's 5-9. And part of the reason why I'm making a case for the 5, Natalie Victoria, granted, she's 7, and maybe we've seen the best of her, which likely came last summer or last spring, actually, at Monmouth Park, when she wired in the Monmouth Beach and earned a buyer figure that is towers over this field of a 100. 2 dull efforts on the front end led to a long layoff. She came back, a race that she needed. I thought she ran quite well considering she needed the race.
Really?
Dueling.
I hated the tape of that race.
Well, okay.
I just thought the stretch one was not pretty.
Well,
we're talking about this last race?
Yeah.
Monmouth, Montana Native?
No, Natalie
Or,
Victoria.
Natalie
Yeah.
Victoria? Yeah, I boy.
Well, so here's the thing. Okay, fair enough.
I thought I was being mean.
No.
You broke out the boo.
I think, look, Michelle Nevin, incredible formulator stats for almost any one of her runners. She's got a lifetime ROI above 2, which is very, very hard to do. But coming off of a long layoff, 180 days or more, ROI is like 130 something.
Okay.
Second off the layoff, she's much better. In fact, she's 1 for 10 in dirt routes with 55-cent ROI off of that length of a layoff. I'm willing to forgive that effort, figuring that she needed one. She's worked since, a solid enough effort. You mentioned probably speed of the speed. You mentioned loose on the lead. For a horse that's likely to get a good trip and going to be probably double digits, that's where I'd take a stab. Look, I'm not saying most likely winner or anything, but at the price.
Sprint breeding on both sides, can't change leads.
Yeah.
This week's Panagol.
Yeah. No,
and it's Paganol.
Oh, sorry.
If you're going to diss a horse, get it right.
Apologies to
She
Connections.
never changed leads. She's 7. She is the speed, but I hope it works out. You're going to get a big number.
Part of this is just a race where there are no stars. I mean, maybe you're right. Sea Shadow as a somewhat lightly raced 4-year-old,
There's nothing wrong on dirt.
where the light maybe has now come on. But look, that's a grade 3. I don't know if it's even a grade 3 field.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, keep in mind, these are whoever comes out of this race to run the Delaware Handicap is going to be 15-1 in that race.
Yeah, well, sure.
This is just
Not a lot of stars of the division.
And in my mind, that makes it a wide open
Oh, yeah.
for a long shot. So,
yeah, look, I can't fault it there. You're going to take
I'm
a
partially
shot with
clowning
them.
around. No, a lot of times you see these horses who are loose. It doesn't matter what the form looks like. If that's the way it plays out, I agree. There is a.
You can't win going 9 without changing lead.
It's very hard.
Especially if your overall ability is suspect.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
You just can't.
maybe if you're running in 12-5 claimers like she was not too long ago,
I'll tell you what,
maybe
if she gets a half and 50, maybe.
Her best effort is better, at least from a figure standpoint, better than any of these. And the question is,
she changed leads.
the question is whether or not
She changed leads.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
hey.
the Nevin second off. That gives me a little bit of
the
pause.
Nevin second off.
It's good.
And the thing is, keeping faith. A lot of the and I actually did the digging. The Nevin first off the long layoff. They often don't make a second start after another layoff. So, you know what I'm saying? Like she's feeling like this horse is doing well enough, not only to run her here in a graded stake off of a poor effort in a listed stake. Part of it is Nevin we trust.
Okay, I like it.
Wins a lot of races.
The 8th at Thistledown tomorrow afternoon is the Ohio Derby, $500,000. Non-graded event. Scratch Bodie's outfit. He's going to run in the Pegasus at Monmouth Park. That means we've got a field of 8. Boy, it's going to be an interesting race, Mike. I think you had brought it up. Who's the third choice in this race?
Right. Yeah, we've got two clear favorites that I think will both come down from their morning lines of 3-1 and 7-2.
I think Divining Rod goes favored, right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's going to be really close. They could be co-favorites.
I think they're
Between
both
Divining Rod and Whiskey Ticket.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they're both 2 or maybe lower.
According to PH, for what it's worth, right now Divining Rod is the favorite at 5-2. Whiskey Ticket is 6-1. And it's not we have 600 picks in. So
But
it's
again,
not like it's a small
part of
spot.
that is the presumptive favorite. A lot of times people.
This is a very beatable morning line.
Well,
favorite,
but then again, Divining Rod. I mean, anybody with half a nut in their head, you're going to project that horse could be the favorite.
He's
True.
just so much sexier.
True.
I
look at him as the most
so
likely
much better
winner.
form. I mean, I might even pick Divining Rod in this race just because I like him so much.
Right.
And even though I agree he's going to be bet, I think he might be a little better than the paper looks because, as we've discussed, you couldn't really make a figure for that Preakness, right?
No.
Right.
So, and I just thought he ran really well. I mean, I thought so.
Yeah.
He tried American Pharaoh.
Javier tried to win the race.
Right.
He did.
Right, and I guess if he was running for second, like what's that figure, Well, and the bare figure doesn't mean anything because we have no idea. My just gut, like yours was, we discussed this about
It was much faster.
Yeah, that it was probably faster than the figure came up. So here you have a horse whose running line's a little better than it looked because he tried to win the race, and a figure that's not as fast, the best form in the race. I mean, compare his form to like Whiskey Tickets. And I just think Divining Rod, I mean, to me, my main opinion in the race, and granted, if the morning line is totally wrong, maybe this is a little out the window, but my main opinion would be to be anti-Whiskey Ticket if the prices resemble what they are in the morning line.
Yeah, I think Divining Rod. I mean, again, the site is called Public Handicapper, and it's supposed to mimic what it's like to be a public handicapper, where you have to do your first, second, and third days often in advance, and not knowing the scratches and not knowing the weather. If I were to pick a most likely winner, my mom was going to the track, and she said, "Who should I bet $2 on?" Divining Rod for me. But
does that happen a lot?
No. Well, actually, yeah, because she'll be at Saratoga this summer. So
that's awesome.
My
mom just says bet $2 on a long shot.
Yeah.
Which is far more of a chance. I'd rather
Fire
just
away.
be like, let me
Right.
pick a most likely winner. It's easier to.
They just want to cheer. But anyway, so I think, or let's put it in a different term. If I was playing this in a multi-race in Ticketmaker, Divining Rod may very well be my lone A. And Whiskey Ticket might be a B, just mostly because of the upside potential and Baffert. But knowing that at a short price, I don't really want to lean too heavily on him. Far Right is probably the one I would take a stand against.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he may on the morning line. He's the third choice. He may go third choice. I'm not sure I want anything. I mean, he ran second to American Pharaoh there, but. He's just such a deep closer. The cut back to a mile and a 16th, even though he's won at the distance, even though he's won at a flat mile, I think the race really needs to set up for him, and he may be too short for me at the price he's likely to be.
And that's presuming shorter than 9-2 or even 9. Because to
Even
me
9-2,
I'd be happy. But
Yeah.
I worry that it won't be that.
I don't know. I mean, he's just one I've never loved. I'll put it that way. I think when he beat Mr. Z, it's because Mr. Z broke a tooth and ran to the outside rail.
He's beaten Mr. Z a few times.
Okay, well, one of the races it was because of that.
He's better than Mr. Z.
The other,
come on.
I don't know.
I mean, I
don't know.
I
might lean Mr. Z here. Actually.
I think they're all very evenly matched.
Yeah.
I think the only horses that could end up being something are Divining Rod and Whiskey Ticket. I think the rest of them they're good. I mean, they're not superstars. There's a reason they're in the Ohio Derby. I like War Story.
My old friend.
Yeah, I'm going to draw a line through the Kentucky Derby, obviously. I'm not afraid of that. But prior to that, he hadn't done anything wrong. He was slow out of the gate. The Louisiana Derby finally got out of the gate in good order.
Yes.
Now they put the blinkers back on. I think he's going to work at the best trip out of everyone, where you're going to have Whiskey Ticket go, you'll have Divining Rod close, you'll have Mr. Z close. War Story, I assume, is going to sit in just back in there. This isn't a race that I'm going to play in public handicapper because I don't have a super strong opinion. I think Mr. Z works out a really good trip. It's still hard for me to swallow that he's lost 13 in a row after winning his debut. The two, from a price standpoint, that I'm most intrigued with are the 5 and the 6, War Story and 10 Sender. The only reason I'm leaning War Story over 10 Sender is because if 10 Sender had come into this in the exact same way he went into the Derby with the blinkers on, I'm okay. I find it very odd that they take the blinkers back off when his best races have come with them on. So I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but I would just tentatively, from a price standpoint, go with War Story. But again, not a race that I'll be playing PH-wise.
Yeah, figure-wise, 10 Sender makes a lot of sense.
I think 10 Sender. So I said far right might be. I think if you had to put a gun to my head, I think 10 Sender is the third choice.
Really?
Yes. I'd be very surprised.
I think people will excuse the Derby. I think people will look to that race 2 back in the Wood, where he ran second to Frosted, who has since flattered that effort, earned a buyer figure of 100, which I believe is the top in the race, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
So all you have to forgive the Derby, and all of a sudden that horse looks live, right?
It's a reasonable case. I just think that Far Right's form. I mean, my knock on 10 Sender is it's like the old Sesame Street game. You look at his races, and it's like, which one of these does not belong? Mm-hmm. And it's the one that, you're basing the case he might be the third choice off. I think, his body of work, I don't think justifies him being below Far Right. Though I agree, that race, if he runs that race, I'll tell you what, he wins.
He's close anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think Divining Rod is the best horse in the race.
Right.
Yeah. I think we're all
in agreement on that, yeah.
But as far as third choice is concerned, I really think it's going to be Mr. Z.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone knows he was 16-1 in an 8-horse field with American Pharoah. He was shorter than Divining Rod, was he not? Or he was no, he was very close.
They were similar in price, weren't they?
Divining Rod's going to be the favorite of the second choice. I think Mr. Z, everyone knows this horse's name.
I think people are off him. I think people are done with him. Everyone knows his name, but there's a difference between knowing his name in a Triple Crown race, where you have a lot more mug money, and having a race at Thistledown.
For what it's worth, he is the second choice in public handicapper.
Well, I can't wait to see the betting on this. I have a question about War Story.
Sure.
Do you remember when War Story was briefly going to run in the Belmont Stakes? Mm-hmm. Our Twitter pal, who owns him, had made a bunch of statements about how War Story was definitely going to be on the lead in the Belmont.
Yeah. Right.
Is there any thought? Now, I don't see it in the workouts, and it's not like he never wore blinkers before. I mean, I had never come up with it on the paper that this horse was going to the lead, but I just hearing that back around the Belmont that he was going to the lead, I just made me wonder, was that just palaver? Was that just talk?
Yeah, I think
that means nothing?
I think that was the owner just being this owner. I mean, kind of an eccentric guy who
likes to talk,
likes to make a strong
point.
Likes
to chatter and chirp a little bit, and then when Tom Amoss comes out and goes, no, I'm going to go with Tom Amoss in this one and say, no, the horse isn't going to run like that. He's going to run like he has throughout his career, sit off of a target or 2 or 3, and then make his run. At the end of the day, the trainer's the one that calls
of course.
the shots. So I have more faith in Tom Amoss than the former. So I just think, I think you let the other ones go. Whiskey Ticket, Divining Rod. 30 silver pieces, I think, has to go.
I think so, too.
The problem is I don't think he's good enough.
Right.
Pace factor not fast enough was my comment.
And then Mr. Z sits just off. Mr. Z, if you go with him, you're going to get a thrill because he will be there at the top of the lane. It's just can he finally put it all together?
And I think that's maybe where I'm leaning.
Mr. Z?
Yeah.
I just think he needs a break and a couple.
And I fear for you if you really think that. I think he's third choice. So
I
if you're
don't.
looking at it from a price standpoint,
I think he'll be double digits.
no shot. No
Really?
shot. Yeah, there's no shot.
I'll make the over under.
No shot.
Make
Over
the
under.
Well, what's the
Put
morning
it
line?
this,
I'll
6
use that
on the
to help.
line.
6.
He's not higher than 8. There's no way.
That's like probably where I'd put my
I
over
think he
under.
goes off at 6, but there's no way. There's no way he's double digits. There's no way. I'm more confident in that than any of these. There's no way he's double digits. There's no way. He was 16-1 against American Pharoah in an 8-horse field. He's in an 8-horse field now.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I think there's a little Mr. Z fatigue. I think
think
Mike made a fair
I-
point about Mr. Z
I
fatigue.
think people are way off of it. I mean,
I don't think they're off of him to be double digits, but I think if he's third choice, I'd go wow.
yeah,
And I
be
would give
surprised.
massive props.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'll put it. We'll wrap on this one.
Okay.
He is much more likely to be third choice than be double digits. He's much more likely to be third choice.
I'm the one who should
than
answer
double
that
digits.
question, and I don't know, man. They both sound pretty.
You don't have to
unlikely
answer.
me.
I'm telling you, he is much more likely to be third choice than double digits. There's no way.
Fair enough. If he's double digits, I would take him in public
Sure.
handicapper. If he's not, I don't
Heck,
want
if
him.
he's double digits, I'd take him with live money.
Yeah, I
because
might,
he's
'cause I
not.
can make enough of a case.
I can't bet him right now.
It's
I just
not
can't.
that he's not that far off.
Hey,
I just feel so strongly he needs a break and a cutback.
well, yeah.
I may think he needs a break too, but at the end of the day, we're not
we
talking
all,
about
we all
superstars here.
Right, we all think that, but we haven't seen the horse up close, the way the coach has. And he can throw a ridiculous long shot that everyone is dismissing and
Is he
saying,
going to start talking about take charge, Brandy? again?
No.
Is he going to start talking
no,
about take charge?
no. Oh, what about Spain?
We got to keep moving. We got two
Please,
races to go in
please.
15 minutes.
Oh, sugar.
The 7th at Santa Anita is the Singletary, $75,000. A mile on the grass. These are for 3-year-olds. I think this is a fantastic race.
is.
You can go any number of ways. For what it's worth, the current favorite on Public Handicap is the number 6 Soul Driver.
Yes.
Second choice is the number 2 All Indians. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a fair amount of speed in this race. I also think there's a fair amount of short prices on the morning line that are really not very good horses.
A little harsh, but
No, again,
I can't.
I'm
You don't
sick of
hear me.
hearing harsh.
Right.
Let's be honest. I mean, come on. I'm an analyst. I'm not trying to be your best friend.
The big question of the race, though, is that your morning line favorite and your probable favorite, if he draws in, is on the AE list.
Right, which is intriguing.
How's that happen?
Well, mainly because I don't know.
Hasn't had a win in the States, is that it? Is it going on, is preference to those that have winners, non-winners?
I don't know the rules out there.
I don't
honestly,
either.
for that.
That just makes no sense to me.
But obviously, Royal Albert Hall is the horse we're talking about on the far outside. If he gets in, he's a player.
Horses with highest earnings given preference, so he must have the lowest earnings.
He's
of the field.
36,000.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
all those races over there, they don't have the purses.
They
that
get
we do.
nothing.
So, from that standpoint, there you go. You have it. I don't know. Who do you think ends up being favored?
I think it's the 6.
Think it's
Soul Driver?
Soul Driver, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about the trip on Soul Driver. We were talking about it before we went on the air. That was my note was this was back when Mullins was ice cold. Stevens grabbed hard after a poor break, steadied a bit, finally made a wide backstretch move better than it looked. But as we talk about this even for 2 seconds, I don't want him as the favorite, I don't think.
It depends what the favorite goes off at, I think. 7-2, I haven't gone through and made a line. I think 7-2 is too short in this field. I think this is a pretty contentious field. But yeah, I mean, if you watch the replay, the middle move this horse made going into the far turn, he went from last to first in 5-6 path.
Yeah.
It was a very good move.
Yeah.
And he ran a really good race.
And he lost to a good horse in Papa Cool.
Right. Who's come back to do
Who
some
would
good
be a
things.
big
Who would be a
favorite
heavy
in this
favorite
field.
in this
Yeah.
field.
I like Soul Driver better than any time, any place, who ran second in
Oh,
there
yeah,
with the much easier trip.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
What about Hero 10 All? Do you think I'm wrong? I want to try to make excuses for the last couple. You know, it didn't break that well and it was against the Monster Bolo in the last race. Then too bad I thought he had a little bit of a trip in there, stuck in behind and between, once again not breaking well. What if this horse breaks a little better? I just don't think he's that far behind. If I could get a little bit north of 6-1, which you might be able to in a contentious race, that's kind of where I'm leaning. I was sort of torn between him and Soul Driver for PH, but I want to
You'll get a better price on Hero 10 All. I think Hero 10 All the case for him is, even though he hasn't won on the turf, he's run good races on the turf, and you could even argue that he's run his best races on the turf. And then just looking through his running lines, the class that he's faced. I mean, first race, lost to Bolo.
Yeah, Bolo.
Lost to Calculator. Dortmund again with firing line. Lost to Papacool, Bolo. Those are all legitimate horses.
Yeah.
You know? He's interesting to me. The one that I might make a case for, and I think is going to be a bit of a price and can work out a good trip. And if you watch the tape, had an awful trip in a 5-horse field, which is hard to do.
I know where you're going here.
Number 8, Mediba, for Jerry Hollendorfer. The dam is half to a good turfer in Hungry Island, who's a Grade 2 winner, won a Grade 1 on the turf as well.
Phipps horse, right?
Or Grade 1 place on the turf. I don't know. But anyway, sold for $700,000. They obviously still think that this could be a good one. Send him down off that, 4th place finish as a 3-to-1 shot. Martine's aboard. He could just work out an okay trip if he's good enough. He'll be a price.
I know the trip was terrible, and I wanted to go this way. But watching the tape and watching the rest of the race, I just thought there was even though the trip stood out, it's not like he then got lit up and ran off crazy, and I can excuse the whole race. I just felt like he just didn't do any running in the stretch that day in a way that made me a little bit nervous. Granted, if the price is really 12, definitely in the conversation, but I worry that this could be like a bit of an international bad trip situation on a horse that didn't really do much running.
I think the international bad trip horse of the race is Soul Driver.
Right, we
and
probably
I think he might get a little
already.
overlooked.
I don't know. Yeah, but see, and I
Coming
don't
from
even
Golden
know that they're going to look at that and say it was a bad trip.
If you watch the race, I think
No,
I know you've watched the
telling
race.
me?
No, I'm
Tell
just
me.
saying. I'm just saying. Anybody that watches the race, is
I don't think
going
it was
to,
a bad trip. I just thought it was an aggressive move.
Well,
wait,
but
are we talking
prior
Soul
to
Driver
it,
or Mandiva right here?
Soul Driver.
Oh, yeah.
But prior to the aggressive move,
He was in a little bit tight in the
yeah,
first turn.
he got shuffled back. He broke slow.
Yeah, a little
He
bit
moved
awkward.
up on the turn, got shuffled back again to last before he made that aggressive move. I mean, it's
I think it was a bad trip.
Combination bad trip and.
Well, I mean, we'll agree to
middle
disagree. On grass, that kind of stuff's going to happen from time to time.
Sure. Sure.
Mediba is one of the horses that I'm intrigued with right there with you. I can't hold that run against him, considering he was in the. I just have the leader blew the turn and carried this horse very wide.
Yeah.
I think he was about in the 7 or 8.
7 or 8 easy
on the first turn.
Yeah.
I can forgive him for that.
Right.
And I think it's a very confident move that for the second start on the grass, Hollendorfer sends him down here. He's one of the 3 in here. I'm sorry, Pete, and guess what? I'll come on here Tuesday and say whether or not I was right or wrong or whatever. Hero 10 All is one of the 2 horses that I was getting at when I said I don't think they're very good. I don't think he's very good. I don't think Zinfor is very good.
Zinvor, I don't want.
Hero 10 All, you got to make excuses. You got to make a lot. I'm fully aware of that. And again, 6-to-1 would be like the basement of what I
think the case is the class from my standpoint.
Sure, yeah, and I can understand that. I think All Indians is intriguing. He's very fast. But the 3 horses that I like in this race, the 8 Mediba, the 6 Soul Driver, and the 3 Harmonic. Harmonic, ever since it's been put on the grass, hasn't done anything wrong. The one thing that most people are going to look at and say, especially coming from somebody like me, tomorrow me and Illman will talk about it, this horse changes back to his left lead just habitually every time he runs at the very end. There's a part of me that it doesn't bother me that much because he still goes on with his run. It's one of those things, obviously, in an ideal world, I wouldn't want to see it, but it's just what he does. He has the highest last out buyer in the field. It's another Hollendorfer. You know what? With
What
the
do you
way
think of the class of those races that he's been running in? I didn't do the full look.
Rosary Man came back to win last out with an 84. The race prior to that, Ride Hard Cowboy. If you like Hero 10 All, who was only a half length better than Ride Hard Cowboy, don't you kind of have to like Harmonic?
It's not crazy. It's not crazy from a form point of view. Again, the Hero
Who was
10
4
All case,
clear?
The case for him is there's just maybe there's something better coming. Again, he's an all-about price horse. I think 6-to-1 seems low, but every week we come on here, we talk about horses that are 3-to-1, 6-to-1 that end up 8-to-1, 10-to-1. He's just one I keep an eye on if that's the dynamic.
See, but I feel like I can make the exact same argument for Harmonic. He's only raced on grass twice, or 3 times, I should say, going back to Del Mar as a 2-year-old. But I mean, for me, they're almost the same sort, and I think Harmonic's better.
Yeah, I worry about that Golden Gate form a little bit.
Fair.
You know, I just don't think it's the same. It's
It's
not the
it's
same
down
level
south.
of racing as running against Bolo and Papa Cool.
Good point, man. I can't argue with that.
But I mean, I see your point from a figure standpoint. From a figure standpoint, you're absolutely right.
those are the three that I'm intrigued with. Obviously, for PH purposes, I won't be using Soul Driver, so it's either going to be Harmonic or Madiba. I guess of the two, I'm going to lean toward Harmonic, but it's Hollendorfer's for me in this one.
It's not a crazy way to go.
You know?
When he's going well and he's doing a little bit better, he's still not King Jerry hot, but he's it's not like it was maybe a few weeks ago when he was a little icy. He's rounding into form.
We've got about 5 minutes left to do this final race, and luckily there's not a heck of a lot to talk about, I don't think.
I got a couple points.
The Summertime Oaks, Grade 2 at Santa Anita, mile and 16th, 3-year-old fillies on the main track. Obviously, everyone's going to be looking at Stellar Wind, the number 9. At this point on PH, she is 2-1. The second choice is the 6 Terrace Tango. Mike, go ahead. I think Pete and I had kind of talked a little bit before, but go ahead. What do you think of this?
I think Stellar Wind is your favorite and a legitimate favorite. She's going to be. There's the difference in price between her and the second choice is not going to be 1 point, 5-2 to 7-2. It's just not.
No,
she's going to
agreed.
be. She's going to be 6-5, 7-5, and the second choice is going to be 3 or 4 to 1 at least. And I think she's a legitimate and deserving favorite because you can make a case that she ran even a good fourth in the Kentucky Oaks when she was pace compromised, and she's certainly working as if there's she's still the top filly on the grounds. She's definitely the most likely winner and probably a lone A for me in here, but I can't pick her for Public Handicapper. And I can't pick the second choice, Fantastic Style. I don't think she wants to go long. She's a half sis to two horses that have the only two that have ever won going long have done it for 5,000 at Penn National and 4,000 at where was it Belterra. So. The rest.
No disrespect.
The rest are all sprinters. Yeah. Hey, it's different to be a
So where are you leaning then?
Grade 2 Summer Oaks. I am leaning towards number 7 Conquest Curl Girl.
I have to say that very carefully.
Conquest Curl Girl.
Good. Well, you watch out for that tomorrow on live.
I was going to say. I'm just going to call her Conquest.
Conquest.
The Conquest
Big
filly.
C. She's won lightly raced. It's done little wrong. Wire to wire, second out, beating a runner that's probably might be one of the most mismanaged horses in training right now. Who is running in this race? The number 3 Danette, the 0-for-12 maiden, who is now making her 5th appearance in a graded stakes. But is earned $161,000, so she's a decent one. Conquest Curl Girl, I think, is going to be a good price. I think there's some upside there. She's a half to a decent horse and easy from the get-go. Take a stab.
Did you do any deep pedigree look at Tara's Tango?
I didn't. Well, actually, I did just the most basic of looks at Tara's Tango. The sense that I got was that her best sibling was a good one, and won both on sprinting and routing, was a better sprinter, and generally her siblings were better sprinting.
I just wanted to make an excuse for her last time. I felt like that was maybe a situation where she felt like she had to do her own dirty work against Fantastic Style. And I know, granted, I'm not sure who's going to do the dirty work here, but at least you have a 10-horse field and not the whatever the 5-horse field that was, and maybe that could bring her into play. I think she's fast and good, and she's always had. People have always spoken well of her. I could see a step forward. I could see people getting very into Fantastic Style as a potential lone front runner. I could see people getting into Stellar Wind for all the reasons Mike said. So that's sort of where I'm leaning. But again, like a lot of these races today, I don't have a ton of confidence because I don't have a great sense of how the betting is going to go.
Right.
I love Fantastic Style.
Really?
Yeah, I love her.
You think because of the pace scenario?
Right to the top. And look, I hate Harlan's Holiday as a sire because I don't think distance is a friend. But you watch the way she did it last time. She galloped out.
She galloped
like a
out
freight
great.
train. 8.5 should not be an issue for this horse. Terrace Tango, look, she was the talk of the town down at Delaware last year as a 2-year-old. I know she's run fast. Beat someone. Beat someone. I know you've run into 2 good ones now, but at the end of the day, you got to put it all together. When I watch her run, I don't think longer is better for her. I think Fantastic Style has at least every right to get the distance more than Terrace Tango. When
Just,
you watch, just
visually, based on the last race, I agree.
Yeah.
That's where I was trying to, when I was rewatching the tape right before we went on here. I haven't done the 100% job on this race yet, to be honest. I was watching tape right as we started. But that's where I felt she was asked every step, and that she might be better if she could just settle.
Yeah.
I think Smith was very conscious of the pace last time. He knew he was riding a 3-5 shot. He was going to not, he wasn't going to not give her a chance to be up in the vanguard and do the dirty work. But I think after watching that, she's got to be further back if she's going to turn the tables and if she's going to beat the likes of Stellar Wind.
Yeah, I just think that the way this race sets up, I'm shocked at the betting on PH right now. Stellar Wind at 2-1, Fantastic Styles 14-1 on the outside.
Well, that's obviously good value.
Yeah, I think she has every right to get the job done. Sheer Pleasure, we got to talk about real quick, and that'll be the last one we discuss. She aired in a state bred stake last time out. She beat a bunch of nothing, really. That field has come back just to be dreadful. But the way she did it is the way you want to see a horse do it. She was full of run late. She's very hard on the ground, though. She's not the nicest mover. She's very pounding when she runs on. But if she runs back to that number, or she does improve second off the bench, I suppose that she got a shot in here. She gets the acid test here, though.
I love her versatility.
Sure.
I like that when you're looking at a PP, I always give a little bit of extra to a horse that's one closing, one on the engine, and one stalking. There's something nice about that. I don't think Sheer Pleasure is fast enough, I think, at the end of the day. But, you know, and you make a good point about the way she moves, but definitely one that will be bet and should have been discussed.
Here's my concern for her. Slow work since that win. And that's not what she was doing prior. In fact, I did the lifetime works. I pulled up because the last 6 don't show the ones before the April 4th race. The work prior to April 4th was 59-2, where she won in the Evening Jewel. Since that race, you know, 3-6 furlong works leading up to the state bred win, then a 3 furlong work that was a little, you know, it was all right, but then the other 2 5 furlong works were just kind of abnormally slow for her. I wonder if that win might have knocked something out of her.
But I mean, like you say though, the May 3rd work leading into that last race, the 3/4 work. I mean, 14-2 is not fast.
Yeah, but that was the first work after the race. The last, and she got progressively faster as she led up to the race.
That wasn't her first work after that race. We have April 27th, April 20th, April 14th.
I got you.
Her first work back out of that last race, out of race 2 back, was 3 furlongs and 38. Yeah. That's compared to this other one, 36 and 4.
Right.
Then you had 1 and 4, 1 and 1, 14 and 2.
But she was getting progressively faster leading up to the race. Since that last race, she's gotten slower each work. She's not She's not moving. It doesn't seem like she's moving forward on the work tab, I guess is the point.
That wouldn't put me off if I was on, but it doesn't give me any. For somebody who's already thinking maybe too slow, maybe not, it doesn't hurt to.
I'm thinking more at a 4-1 morning line. If she's twice that, sure,
you wouldn't care.
Sure,
so much
but you know, she's the 4-1 co-third choice.
I guess works just in general don't matter all that much time wise. Unless there's an equipment change, and then there's either a markedly slower or markedly faster change.
Well, that's why you need to get the Clonker reports.
Right.
Exactly. You don't know who's up.
Absolutely.
You don't know what they're trying to do. Experimenting with, there's other kinds of equipment stuff too they can do that might change the way a certain work goes.
We're running late. Second thoughts, anything before we wrap? We were at 3:57. We got to be out of here in 1 minute.
I am looking forward to a fun Father's Day weekend. Not going to be doing a ton of
happy Father's Day to both of you guys.
Thank you.
Both dads.
Yes.
And anybody else listening?
Absolutely.
Happy Father's Day to all
I am
of
not
you.
one, so. Yeah. So other than that, Mike, anything to wrap up with?
No, just yeah.
What are you laughing at?
I just the knock on was too funny, and all it implied was too funny.
I used to work with a guy who didn't know he was a dad for a few years.
So, with that, thanks for watching. You'll see me and Dan Illman here shortly if you're watching on Saturday afternoon. If you're listening, we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll wrap up whatever happens this weekend, and we'll get you ready to go for next week. And then, Pete, I don't know, maybe we do a Thursday show next week if we can? Are you flying out Thursday?
I'm flying out Thursday.
Okay, so we'll figure something out.
We'll talk.
We'll figure it out because Pete and I will be out in Southern California. But until we talk to you again on Tuesday, Pete, take it away.
May you win all your photos.